You got me feeling kinda crazy. You got me feeling like my head is spinning round. The way you look is so amazing, amazing. I could stare into your eyes for hours and hours. Everything is kinda hazy. We're just dancing in the dark in the flashing lights. I know you can't hear what I'm saying, so I'm just gonna hold you closer. You take me higher when we're together. It feels like you set my whole world on fire. I know I want you, I know I need you here. You're around me, I want tonight. You know you make me feel so alive. I wanna stay with you, never say goodbye. It's like we're in paradise, like we're in paradise. You're around me, I want tonight. You know you make me feel so alive. I wanna stay with you, never say goodbye. It's like we're in paradise, like we're in paradise. I don't know how you do it to me, but you make me wanna fly. I'm not coming down. Maybe it's the way you move, babe, move, babe. You've got that body and that smile, make my head spin round. I'll hold you close to me. You're all I want, so stay right here with me. This feels like paradise. You take me higher when we're together. It feels like you set my whole world on fire. I know I want you, I know I need you here. You're around me, I want tonight. You know you make me feel so alive. I wanna stay with you, never say goodbye. It's like we're in paradise, like we're in paradise. You're around me, I want tonight. You know you make me feel so alive. I wanna stay with you, never say goodbye. It's like we're in paradise, like we're in paradise.
Yo. I can take these off now. Well, g'day everyone. Great to see you back again here for another live Sony Alpha news, rumours and other news show. I think we're going to start first by me opening a beer, because Kerry has done the right thing, and we've got the Squires again, James Squire. Woo-hoo-hoo! Now let's see how I can break the show today. I've tried a couple of different things. I did a test during the week. I did a live during the week, and it only went a couple of times. I think it might be that I'm streaming in 4K that's causing those little dropouts, but I have tried to simplify it a little bit. So let's see what happens. Hopefully it won't be too bad today. If it does, I'm going to have to think of something else. But let me just open this up. You ready for this? Here we go. The ASMR of James Squire. Drink. Here we go. You ready? I'm gonna get banned for abusing alcohol. That's nice. I'm doing all this and Kerry's next door cleaning out our shed. I have so much stuff to sell, you would not believe it. I'm going to show you in a minute. I'll show you how much stuff I've got in there, and I still haven't finished with all the stuff that I'm going to sell. But let me just see who's here live in the chat anyway. So say hi if you are here. So Tom is here. Happy weekend from Milwaukee. First big snow, Tom, you got. Well, that's fantastic. What's it saying? Oh, the Panda just gave me a donation. Panda, you didn't have to do that. Thank you so much, though, buddy. Love you, Father David. Thanks, buddy. Great to see you here too. Follow Panda if you haven't followed him. He's got a great YouTube channel. His street photography is amazing. So thanks, buddy, though. I really appreciate that. So Tom said that we are in a drought. Normally have 3 foot on the ground, and you haven't got any at the moment. Wow. That's incredible. Dana says, hello from Southeast Florida. G'day, Dana. How are you? Steve is also here as well, saying greetings all. Matthew is saying, hi David, the GH6 is awesome. Apart from the autofocus in video and high-speed continuous tracking, if Panasonic changed to phase detect in all their cameras, they'd have so much more sales. Yeah, and I'll talk about that because I'm going to go through those 2 cameras, the GH6 and also the Olympus camera as well. Rocco said, greetings from Southwest Florida. G'day, Rocco. Heath said, welcome to the jungle. Dan said, hello from Southeast Florida. I just love the way that I'm just chatting to all you guys from all around the world. This is just amazing, honestly. Para in the Philippines said, good morning from Dubai. George said, greetings from ice-covered New Jersey. Chris is also here, said, hello, David. Nice day in Los Angeles and a good Miller Lite day. Cheers. Yeah, I'm having this James Squire. I think it comes from, does it come from Geelong? I think it does. Not sure, actually. Does it say? I'm just trying to see if it says where it's from. It is Australian. Anyway, it's an Australian ale. You can sort of see if you look through here. Just said this Australian-style pale ale delivers cracking flavour with a refreshing, fresh hints of passion fruit and grapefruit. I love how they always say that. How the hell do they get these things of where it says passion? It tastes like beer to me. It's like when you see wine and they go, you know, a fruity blackberry, strawberry. I mean, God's sake, honestly, it's just, oh, yeah, whatever. It just tastes like beer, but it's nice. I like the pale ales. I also love Guinness too. I mean, I love even the dark beers as well. Let me keep going down. David said, hi, David, from snowy Boston. So you've all got a bit of snow over there. Heath says, Western New York State in the house. John says, hello, David, from cold Texas. I've just been watching that 1883, and that was all shot in Texas. I'm loving that show. I watched the whole of, what was it called? The Yellowstone. I watched all of Yellowstone, and now I'm on to that 1883. I love it. I love the Western shows. Fantastic. 95 says, brother, g'day, mate. How are you? Good to see you in here. I was just looking at some photos of you today from WPPI when I was there 2 years ago. Panda just gave a donation, so thank you. I'm just playing that so I can look at that lovely falling stuff. Mike said, blondes always have more fun. They do. And I'm glad to see, Mike, that you understand that this is blondness, not grey. Kerry said this morning, she goes, you look like Father Christmas. I said, well, he doesn't have a blonde beard. He has a white beard. Rob said, are you selling 30 or 40 of your gimbals? I'm selling quite a few. I'll show you a video in a minute. Once we've got through these initial intro, I'll show you like a view of what I've got so far. Hi, Roberto said, raining all week in Sydney. Yeah, it always does this time of year there, doesn't it, Roberto? We've got pretty good weather down here. Panda said, GH6 is awesome, but where is what Matthew was saying? I'm not sure what that... oh, okay, but there is what Matthew was saying. Yeah, so you're talking about the autofocus and stuff like that. Hello from Julith is at MW. Last storm, 20 inches. Poor. Hello from the Gulf Coast in the USA, TC. BJ Gray said, hello from San Diego. The Panda said, Boca time. I love it. Mike said, supposedly Canon has a 75 megapixel camera on the way. Well, that's why I think Sony potentially will have 100. We'll talk about that in the first couple of stories today. David said, hi, David from Northern Ireland. And Steve said, flavours come from the hops. They certainly do, Steve, and I certainly can't taste those things that they said before, that's for sure. Now let me see if I can get up this video. I think I have to take out something through here though to get it up. Let me see if I can quit. Play out B. Quit. All right, now let me see if I can open this up. And I'll show you all the bits and pieces that I've got. Open. Because you're going to laugh when you look at it. Let me move this up to here. And I'll make it pretty big. I won't go full screen, but I'll make it pretty big. All right, so let me show you what's going on. So if I go MacBook 2, let me just quit this text. All right. So this is sort of some of the things. Let me go full screen so I can see what I'm doing here. So these are some of the things that I've got for sale here. You can see there's a couple of gimbals. Some I'm going to keep. I'm going to keep a couple of them, but I'm going to get rid of an awful lot of them as well. So, but if you look here, there's gimbals here. There's also my Rode Videocaster Pro. So if there's anyone in Australia that's interested in any of these, send me a message because I'll give you a price and we can work out what they are, you know, a price between us. But I've also got a couple of these free world things here as well that are streaming devices. I've got two of them. The other one must be somewhere else up here, but there's the L1 and the L2, I think, are the two models. I'm also selling some wireless transmitters as well. These are the Holyland, the 400S. And then I've got gimbals through here as well. There's some monitors. The LH5P, you can control your Sony camera from this. So if you are into Sony, you can control your Sony camera from that monitor. There's a AKG microphone. Some of these haven't even been opened, or some have just had a review done. Over here, this is the vlogger kit for the ZV-1, although you could put anything in there, but I think it does come with a small rig cage to sit the ZV-1 on there. There's some monitors over here. This is the YOLO Pro. That's another streaming device I've got. Then I've got a stack of these wireless transmitters that you can obviously, you know, use for video. So they're wireless transmitters that you can have all over. Panda said that's a toy store for me. I love it. And then if you let me keep going over. And if we look here, we've got gimbals. I've got like a DJI, you know, little camera thing that's there. This is the Firetech one, but I'm also going to get rid of the DJI one that I've got as well. It's just that little gimbal that moves on the top. This is a brand new one that's never been used apart from a review, but I've also got the DJI one that I'm going to sell as well as an Osmo Action. They're just not listed down here yet. There will be some lights that I'm selling. Then I've started to get into the gimbals that you can see through here. I've still got to sort through all of this. I've just grabbed it all out of my storage room to work out what I'm going to sell. There is the matte box that I'm going to sell here from Small Rig as well. The iPad I'm not selling, that's just the box that's down there. And then we'll start to come across here, which is all the gimbals that I've got. So there's quite a few gimbals that I'm going to be selling as well through here. Now, I will be also selling a stack. There's about 3 or 4 of the sliders. I've got power ones that I'm going to sell, and also some manual ones as well that I'm going to sell. Let me just see if I can put this long rider up. Does it come up? Oh yeah, it does. Thank you so much, Long Rider. Osla, my homie with the Sony, I love it. So yeah, so I've got that coming up. Now I've also got for sale this microphone's not for sale though. I've also got for sale some monopods because I don't use them all. I've got 3 or 4 monopods, so I'll be selling some monopods as well, which will be up for sale too. That I'm probably going to sell one of these teleprompters as well that's through here. I've still got so much stuff that, you know, that has to even come out yet at this stage. Now let me just see if I can bring that other thing up just so that I can get rid of this and play the ending. Where's the mouse gone? So hard to see. It's there. Oh, there we go. All right, so let me just quit that. Now, so if anyone in Australia is interested, I mean, you know, I would trust people that were from the US, but you'd have to pay the shipping costs. But if anyone from Australia is interested, just contact me. Let me just open up this Play Out B again. And I'll just get that ready, so later on it's ready to go. Okay. Yeah, so if anyone's interested in that. Now, I'm also selling my ZV-1. So if anyone's interested in that, I'll just grab it so I can show it to you. Oop. So the ZV-1 I'm going to sell. It's basically brand new. It's only been used probably 3 times. Look, I love it, but I just don't use it. So I'm just going to try and, you know, get stuff that I'm not using that much and sell. I mean, it's a great little camera. The other thing too is I'm selling it with the small rig adapter, and it also comes with this LensMate adapter on the front that you can put ND filters on there. So it's going to come exactly as it is. But this looks brand new. Like I said, it probably has taken, I don't know, probably 100 photos at the most. And it's only been used for the occasional video, and I did a review of it, but it's basically never been used. The other thing I'm going to sell too is my a7rV. I'm just not using that either. Now I'm selling this for $700 Australian, just so you know how much this is. If anyone's interested in that, message me down below if you are interested. Sell the chair too, Panda said. And I'm going to sell my a7rV as well. And that's really in good condition as well. I don't know what the shutter count is. I've never checked. It may be reasonably high, but it still works perfectly. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And it still looks pretty good. So I'm going to sell that as well, my a7rV. I'm not sure. That's probably going to be $800 or something like that. But let me know if you're interested in any of those. So if anything interests you that I've got there, or you're even thinking about you're interested in something, send me a message, because I may have it and we can sort of negotiate a price, because I haven't set prices on a lot of that stuff yet. And like I said, I've got monopods and gimbals and everything. So let me know if you're interested in any of that stuff. Panda, I love it, said, oh my, that gimbal playland, David Osler, now I know why you never invite me. What else have we got here? All I want to do is play with the gear. Yes, I'm a big toy. So I love all that sort of stuff. May be the YOLO box. It's the original YOLO box, though. It's the first one. I've got that for I don't know what I put that up for. Let me just check the price. Yeah, I've got that for 500. It's selling in Australia now for 1,000. And that, again, has only been used once or twice. It's a brand new one, but I just got the Pro sent to me. So I'm going to sell the original one. So, yeah, if you're interested in that, contact me if you'd like to have that. It works fantastic. So nothing wrong with it. Like I said, it's basically brand new. Any standalone audio recorders? Probably only the Zooms I may be going to sell. I've got the Zoom H1s I'm probably going to sell. I'll have to look at what they cost and stuff like that. So I will be selling some of those as well. Is he selling his chair? No, I'm not selling my chair. That is a good chair. I know, I love this chair. It's great. 800 for the a7rV. Wow. Yep. So I'll probably be, like I said, I'll be selling that as well. I always just tend to price things so I know I can get rid of them. You know, I don't like to put things up too much. I like to sort of, if I'm going to sell them, I like to just get rid of it. So, what's Paul said down here? So selling things you have been given to test proves you do paid ads. Well, not really, Paul. What you got to understand there is that I was offered, I did the work on those. Now, you might see a video that I put up for something that, I'll sort of explain this to you, Paul. For me to do an hour shoot, it will be $400, and they get 5 images on an hour shoot. So that's how it works with me charging for my rates for film. So the minimum I charge is $450 for a 1 hour shoot. A video like you would see that I put on those videos, would take me probably 6 hours to shoot in video, and then it probably would take me a day to put them together. So if you think about it, yes, I got the stuff for free, but I did pay in time to put it out. So in fact, the time alone I've paid to do that. So I don't agree with what you're saying there, Paul. The Panda says, I'm looking for an update camera for my Canons. What are you thinking about getting, Panda? Dana said, the more space they hordes have available, the more space they fill. Perhaps this is actually the goal, to fill space. Yeah, and that's true, Dana. I've just got to get rid of some of that stuff. John said, just checking in from Queens. And a lot of that stuff too I didn't get for free. A lot of that stuff I've paid for. Like all of my monopods, I've paid for those. There's a lot of stuff in there that I've paid for. Is there a full list online somewhere? No, I've probably got to do one 0007. I must put one all together. I only grabbed all the stuff out yesterday and sort of got it from that. So I'll try and get the a list down. Well, Rob said I'll buy the ZV-1. Rob from Sydney, my YouTube channel. Yeah, I trust you, Rob. Just send me an email and we can organise it out and I can get it sent to you. So we'll organise that. I'll keep it as sold if you like. Just send me a message. I think my email is put through YouTube anyway. Paul said you're cheap. Thanks, Paul. Please don't sell any gimbals. You don't have enough of them. I love it. All right, so let's get stuck into the news anyway. So anyway, anyone from Australia particularly, contact me. I will try and put a list up of all these things so people then can sort of choose what you like. Or if you are interested in something, like I said, message me and we can organise something if you like. If you want to get a jump ahead and get the, well, Roberto said he'd like the ZV-1. If anyone also is interested in the a7rV, contact me there as well. So let's get stuck into the news. Let me go to here. And let me quit this. All right, so I wanted to go through the first story today because there's a couple of interesting things coming up, and I thought this is probably true that Sony Alpha rumours have said here. That they've said Sony long pause, 4 months without a new product announcement. So they're saying there has been an awful long pause that's been going on here with gear. And I think what they're saying is that really all that's been released is the 51.2. I thought the Sony a7 IV came out after that though, but anyway. Last year on October the 21st, we got the last Sony announcement, the a7 IV. Today, we officially mark 4 months of long pause with no new camera and no new lenses. So it's 4 months basically without anything being released. And they're saying down here, this is rather unusual for Sony. By comparison, last year, Sony made 2 announcements in January, and it was the Sony A1 and also the 35mm GM. The world chip shortage may lead to Sony to make a short break. And that's probably, I think, what's happening here is this world chip shortage. And I'll show you another couple of things from that as well. But I think that's been a big telling factor with, you know, that they just haven't been able to release. And they're not much different than anyone else at this stage, I don't think, in that regard. But I'm certain that a pause will be over soon. Last year, we got the 51.2 GM lens in March, and 12 months after, it would be nice to get the new 85 1.2 GM. Oh, yes, please. George just said all those prices it may pay to move to Australia. Yeah, George, it is Australia prices. Yep. Cheap for you Americans, that's for sure. So it's probably true that we haven't had much released by Sony for the last few months, apart from the a7 IV, I suppose you could say. Now, I'm going to go to the next thing because it's sort of related, and I'll just go through this because they're saying Sony a7 IV and another ZV-1 similar camera will be launched before the a9 III. So it's, who knows what the ZV-2 is going to be. I mean, I would think if they do bring out a ZV-2, it's probably going to be quite a bit more expensive than the ZV-1. I think the ZV-1 here in Australia is around about just over $1,000, I think. So I think I've got a feeling if they put much more into that little camera, which is a great little camera, by the way, but I think if they put much more into that, it's going to be, you know, probably go up Australian 1,500 or something. So it's going to jump up quite substantially. I'm not sure what they would put in that. Maybe perhaps they'll go up to 4K 60, but the video from the ZV-1 is incredible, particularly if you want to do slow motion and things like that. The stills is also very, very good, and I love the flippy screen. So I don't think they'll change the body. I think they'll want to keep that as a vlogging camera, but you know, they may put some extra features in there. I'm not sure what they'll do. We'll have to sort of wait and see. But it's just saying here, we are still in the midst of the worldwide sensor shipment crisis. So timing still a bit unsure, but from what I've gathered till now, this is what we can expect in 2022. And they're saying here that a new ZV-1, a like style camera, see, it might not be a ZV-1, it might be something similar, or who knows. They're saying, and a new a7R5 are going to be announced before the a9 III. And that's the one where I think is going to be the 100 megapixel one. I think they really are going to bump the megapixels up on the a7R5. This camera is going to be superb, I think. If you want high resolution, you're going to get the high resolution, but also the focusing of the A1 and things like that in it. It is seriously going to be an amazing camera. And I think this one, the a7R5, will probably have the beautiful EVF that the Sony a7S III and the A1 has, and it will definitely, I'm sure, if Sony don't do it, I will go nuts. But I think as well that it will have the much better screen at the back. Let me just quit this for a minute. Yes, I think it'll have the much better screen at the back. Obviously, it'll have the new body that's out there. It'll have the new tracking and everything. So this is going to be an incredible camera. And if, like I said, if you're after resolution, I just hope if they do go to 100 megapixels, that they do give you like a light RAW or something like that. You know, that you'll be able to shoot down with that and say get to 30 megapixels if you want to. I'm really hoping that's the case, because you certainly would not want to be shooting 100 megapixels all the time, that's for sure. You know, I mean, it's going to take up so much storage that I hope they do give us another RAW version. I'll keep your fingers crossed for that anyway. If they did do that, you know, that would interest me, because it would be sort of great to have the ability to shoot, if you wanted to, this massive file, but also then if you wanted to do... thanks, Melissa. I'll read it once we've finished. If we wanted to do... what was I talking about? Melissa took my mind off it then. Oh yeah, if we wanted to do weddings. If we wanted to do weddings and things like that, you could then go down to, say, a 30 megapixel and that would be fine. So having a camera like that would be fantastic. It'll be interesting to see what they put in video on that one. I'm hoping that they will put 4K 60 in it. I'm talking about the a7R5. I'm pretty sure it will be 4K 60. The other thing too is I don't think they'll put 8K in it. I think they're going to probably keep that for the A1 line at this stage, or who knows what the A9 III is going to have. But that, you know, that's interesting. They're saying also that it's going to be announced before the A9 III, so it looks like they're saying the A9 III is probably going to come in early 2023. They're saying there that, and only if sensor supply issues permit it, the A9 III will come as last camera of the year or early in 2023 if things go bad. So it looks like, yes, we're going to get a new a7R5. That's probably could be the next camera that we receive, or a ZV-1 replacement. I think probably what will happen is they'll keep the ZV-1 and they'll have a ZV-2 that will be priced more. Like it'll probably be, you know, around about the 1,500 mark, because the ZV-1, if you're after like a vlogging camera, travel camera, is perfect. So I don't know what they can do much to that to make that much better. Like I said, apart from perhaps adding 4K 60 in or something like that, but you're going to pay more for that. So it's sort of interesting. I mean, I still think we're stuck in the sensor shortage is causing a lot of these things, and that's probably why it's all being held back. But you know, it's interesting anyway. Let me keep going, because this is sort of all related. And they're saying here that the US Commerce Department expects sensor shortage to last till the end of 2022. I think the way that it's going to be 2023 before this sensor shortage sort of finishes. It just doesn't, we don't seem to be catching up. I know in the US they were talking about building, I think Sony were even talking about building a semiconductor factory. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see if they can do that. But I'm just sort of reading down what it's saying here, that it's saying don't expect the worldwide chip shortage to end anytime soon. This is from Bloomberg and the Washington Post. It says that the US Commerce Department has published a semiconductor supply chain report estimating that the global shortage will last until at least the second half of 2022. We aren't even close to being out of the woods with supply chain problems. And it's saying here that many companies are particularly sensitive to problems. The medium chip inventory for a client company plunged from 40 days in 2019 to under 5 days in 2021. So they've only got 5 days of inventory. Even a relative short week disruption overseas could shut down an American factory, the department said. Like I said, I know it's the same with cars here. I'm sure it's probably the same in the US and everywhere else. But here, if you want to go and buy a new Toyota now, you have to wait 6 to 12 months to get it. So the chip shortage is really bad, and it's affecting everyone. You know, it's affecting cars, it's affecting cameras, it'll affect lenses, it'll affect everything that has chips inside it. So it's, you know, there's no solution yet at this stage until everyone starts producing these sort of chips themselves. I think that's probably what's got to happen. Cheers, everyone. I'll come back to the chat too at the end. I'm just going to keep going with all of this. The same thing here, and this may be related to that. Let me just bring this down. Oh, I've got to move it over. Let me just fix this. Where are we? Okay, so they're saying here that camera production is down as much as 30% over the last 2 years. And I think this is probably also related to that camera chip shortage as well. It may also be the fact that we've all been locked down and everything else. So, you know, I mean, photographers haven't been working and money's been a lot harder. So, you know, this is probably one of the problems. It's saying that the global silicon shortage has resulted in a lack of supply. Yeah, so it's the same thing. It's this global silicon shortage has caused this supply problem that we've got. And the camera industry has been particularly hard hit. A new report alleges that the problem may be worse than some realise. Now, they're saying here that it's also affected game consoles. I mean, look, if you tried to get some of these new game consoles that came out, like the PlayStation 5 and stuff, the waiting lists are horrendous. Specifically, they're also saying there it also affects printers, fridges are out of stock, delayed for months, and have seen production fully suspended due to a lack of parts. I, for instance, have ordered, I can't remember the name of them, but they're Manfrotto poles, and they go across the room, and you can bolt them to both sides of the room. They're called something poles. I mean, I'm not sure, but so I've been waiting. I ordered them in December. Early December, and I'm still waiting. And I phoned them yesterday, and he still said to me that due to the supply issues that were there and everything, you know, that hopefully they're going to get them in a week or so. But you know, it's just so bad. The other thing too is that the shipping has been terrible. I know that the costs, I'm not sure about in the US, but I know the costs of shipping here, and look, I'm just going to guess these numbers because I can't remember, but they used to say that where a shipping container came in and it was $2,000 for that container, it's now jumped up to $15,000 to $20,000 per container. So you can imagine what that's going to do to prices of things. It's going to become horrendous. And that's one of the other things too, is the shipping costs have gone nuts. So boy, are we in for some price increases. And they're saying here that specifically in the camera industry, some items such as the Canon EOS R3, which was announced last November, and they're saying that it may take up to 6 months to arrive. The A7S III is exactly the same. That is extremely hard to get. And, you know, that's one of the problems as well. If you're after the A7S III, it's terribly hard to get. A delay that is the top of the worst in the electronics segment that were covered by the Nikkei, I think it is. Despite a boost in personal savings by citizens in Japan by upward of 40 trillion yen across the country, consumption has been stymied, I think it is, due to the lack of resources. In short, the economy is poised to recover, but can't as there's nothing to buy. Like, the demand's there. I keep hearing everything all the time about how everyone would love to buy an A7S III and they can't buy one. I think the A1 is available because that is just priced so high that, you know, the market demand's not there. But for cameras like the A7 IV, for cameras like the A7S III, try and get them. They're very, very hard to get. Thanks, Roberto. I'll check it once we're finished with this. So, you know, I just thought that was an interesting one. I'm just seeing what it also says down here because I haven't read these. A Nikkei reports that the time between when a company like Canon, Nikon or Sony orders a semiconductor part and when it delivers has been significantly extended. And like I said, also the shipping's going to have a huge cost on this now too, because like I said, if the shipping has gone up from that 2,000 per container to 20,000 a container, or I know it was ridiculous, I can't remember the actual figures, but those costs have to be put up. A part ordered last year in October can be delayed between 5 and 15 weeks, which has a rolling effect of causing production of the final product to be significantly delayed. They're saying it's like a whack-a-mole where just one situation is resolved, one or even more appear as well. They're saying the result is that the production of digital cameras is down by as much as 30% when compared to production 2 years ago. It must be really hard for shops like, you know, shops that have retail frontage that relies on the gear being in the shops. It must be really, really hard for them because they don't have, like if you order online, well, it is what it is, you just have to wait. But a lot of people will go into a retail shop and want to buy it there and then. If they don't, then people can leave. It must be tough for retail shops to pay their rent when they haven't got the cameras in there. You know, it must be really hard, actually. It just says there that losing 30% of the market is expected to be just 8% of what it was a decade ago. It's a crippling blow to the industry. And they're saying here that don't expect it to start improving until 2023. That's why I also think it's probably going to be 2023 until, you know, this semiconductor sort of improves as well. But, you know, it's just interesting to look at it. We're going to keep moving on. I thought this was interesting because Tamron have said that all future lenses will have that customization button. I noticed on all the newer Tamron lenses, they're now putting a button on there that you can customize through software to do different things. And this is a terrific thing that Tamron are going to keep adding in. And they're saying that they're now going to develop that. But it looks like they're open to people with suggestions to give some ideas about what they would like to sort of incorporate into that. So, you know, it's really interesting. It's saying Tamron will continue to listen to voices of the customers and develop unique lenses that are unique to Tamron. They're saying that they're going to try and keep improving the AF speed and the operability of the zoom rings and textures of the grip and things like that as well. And they're still talking about that there could be up to 6 lenses that are released or announced this year. If you come down, I'm not sure where it mentioned that. I'm just trying to see. Oh, yeah, 5 lenses. Tamron expected to announce 5 new lenses this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what they have. I can't wait to sort of see because I'll be reviewing them, obviously. Anyway, it's great. So it looks like this Tamron lens utility, I haven't used that yet. I've had a lens with it because the last 2 lenses that I reviewed from Tamron had that. But I haven't been able to use the utility at this stage. But, you know, I think it's a terrific idea, and, you know, it's something that I think they certainly should keep going on. And having the lens where you could customize the buttons in it fully will be terrific, like you can with the Sony lenses. So anyway, that's going to be a terrific thing that's going to be announced or coming in the future. Now, let's have a look at these, because I thought we could have a look at the Panasonic and also the Olympus as well. Because to be completely honest, I haven't even looked really at what these cameras I've had. I haven't watched any YouTube videos or anything really about them at this stage. I've been too busy editing some wedding videos and stuff like that that I've had to be doing. But they've just launched it. Now, it's a 25.2 megapixel sensor. It's a Sony sensor too, I believe. Or is it the Olympus that's a Sony sensor? I can't remember. It might be the Sony. Actually, it'll be the Olympus that's the Sony sensor. It's a 5.7K 10-bit video, and it's got active cooling, which is terrific. Now, I knew when I had the GH5 that it never overheated, ever. And I'm talking about hot Australian summers where, you know, it's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit and, you know, 40 degrees Celsius. It would never overheat. So now they've taken it a step further, and they may have had to do that because of the video that it's pumping out, but it's now got active cooling built into it, which is terrific. Let me just keep coming down because I want to look at, see what some of the specs are through here. The first Micro Four Thirds camera to feature a resolution over 20 megapixels. The camera says its 25.2 megapixel sensor is primarily for photography, but of course it's loaded with video features as well. Now, I know the GH5 was brilliant for photography, and in fact, I found the focus to be really, really good in video, in stills. It was excellent actually in stills. It never was to the point where I would worry about it not gaining focus and things like that. It was terrific actually. Video was another thing, but I'm talking about stills. It's saying it makes improvements nearly across the board with more resolution, more video recording options, greater dynamic range, and in-body stabilization. The last version was nuts, so I'll be interested to see if this says what that is, but I'm sure if it's better than what the previous version was, you would be able to handhold the GH6 without a gimbal. The GH5 was that good. You put it in tripod mode and you could basically use it without a gimbal or a monopod. It was incredible actually. So if this is better, I can imagine what it must be like. Excuse me. I need some more beer. They're saying there that it's 20% higher in megapixels, boasts high resolution, high speed signal readout. I'm just trying to see if it mentions any other specifications that are in here. It's got that new Venus engine. Let me just see if anything else comes out of here. What's it saying? With the high precision 3D noise reduction video, detection capability of the still and moving parts has been advanced, which makes it possible to optimize noise reduction. Okay, so they're saying it's better for noise reduction. Dual 3D color control enhances color reproduction by brightness levels and saturation, so they're saying it's a better sensor in that regard. Now, the combination of the new sensor and processor means the GH6 has a new wider ISO extended sensitivity range of ISO 50 through to 25,600 in photos and ISO 50 to 12,800. Now, this was one thing, a big difference between, say, what the APS-C cameras could do. Even APS-C cameras were much better, I found, than what the GH5 would be for noise. You just can't beat physics. I mean, the size of the sensor in Micro Four Thirds is that much smaller that it's never going to compete with, say, an APS-C camera or a full frame camera. It's just not going to compete in that. But if you have a wide enough lens, and you can get them, I used to use the Voigtlander, which was a 1.2 lens, I think, and you could use that in almost pitch blackness, and it worked quite well. So it depends on what aperture you're going to use, but you do have to be mindful about noise. So it's never going to be as good as that, but it looks like it's improved anyway. Oh, well, there you go. Look, the camera also has new improved 5-axis gyro sensor with a new algorithm that allows it to achieve 7.5 stops. Now, this is a true 7.5 stops. I've noticed if you're dealing with Canon and Sony and Nikon, they always give you a stops, but it's more related to what you will get in stills. I think that's probably more the way that I could say it. It's never as good as it sounds in video. The Lumix, the Panasonic GH6, and also the Olympus cameras, which we'll look at next, have had true stops in that regard. Like I said, you can hold it by hand. I think the Olympus is usually a fraction better. I've never used one though, but that's just what I've been told by people, that the Olympus is even better. If you don't want to have gimbals and you don't want to have tripods, you can even walk with this. I used to walk with my GH6 and still get fairly good results. Having 7.5 stops of sensor stabilization is nuts. It's got the 3-inch free-angle touch control monitor, which will be beautiful. It's 1840K dot high resolution, so it would blow anything like Sony have got out of the water in that regard. The company says there is no physical interference even when the HDMI cable and USB cable are connected. It's got the 3680 dot OLED. Now that the Sony a7S blitzes that, it kills it. But the back screen is certainly much better. Now this is the wah, because it's contrast-based autofocus. This is where it falls down. I do not understand why they've never gone to phase detection. To me, I just don't understand it, because this is the problem where it has to go past the subject and then come back in, and so you always get that focus breathing. If I was shooting with it with this, like at the moment I'm using the ZV-10. If I was shooting with the Panasonic GH5, or I'm sure this would be exactly the same, if I had a light behind me, like those lights that are sort of behind me, they would be flickering in and out. So it's a problem. You know, it really is a problem with this contrast-based detection autofocus. But full-on videographers aren't too fussed about that, because they'll be using this in manual focus anyway. So I think if you're dealing with it that way and you're using, you know, true video lenses, you would be using manual focus, and then it's not going to be an issue. But if you did want to use this for video autofocus, it's never going to beat like a Sony or a Canon or, you know, anything like that. It's a pity. So I'm sure if you check the reviews, that will be true. It is capable of high-speed shooting, 14 frames and 8 frames per second with mechanical shutter, and 75 frames per second with electronic shutter. Wow. I wonder how fast the sensor is. Interesting. Video powerhouse. I did see here, it says the GH6 contains Vlog and V-Gamut, so it looks like you're not going to have to pay for it. I know when I had my GH5, I had to pay for the Vlog, so it looks like you haven't got to pay for that. And it provides 12 plus stops and even 13 stops of wide dynamic range. So it's got this dynamic range boost mode, which is a wide dynamic range. Just having a look too, see if it says anything else. It says the after-mentioned 5-axis stabilization also works for video recording and can apply appropriate compensation for any type of movement. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It does 10-bit 422, which is terrific, at 60p. No recording limit. And it does 420 10-bit 4K 120. So it certainly doesn't beat the Sony a7S III in that regard. That's interesting. I thought that would have been a little bit better, but it's got 422 10-bit full HD at 240p. So if you want to do in 1080p, you can do up to 240 frames, high frame rate as well. Video with audio is still available, so that's also good, which is useful in case of speed ramping, and I know I like to do that a lot, and having the audio with it is terrific. 300 frames per second if you want to do 12.5 times slow motion. Let me just see here. 4K 60 time-lapse can also be produced inside the camera. That's great. I love that aspect of it. That's terrific. With exposure leveling function. So obviously if you're doing time-lapse, it'll adjust for the exposure. That's one problem with if you want to do things like shoot a sunset where the light's changing. This probably allows for that. So that's a really nice feature. Just to look at the body, I really like it. I think the body, even the GH5, I really like the body. I think it was terrific. And it looks like this one is still really good. You know, you had full-size HDMI, things like that as well. Active cooling is terrific. That is so good. So it's got a fan inside it. I think that is terrific. It's basically like the S1H, it's saying there. That's what gives it the unlimited recording times. It said the fan system is relatively robust as it can repel splashes, dust, and is usable down to -10 degrees Celsius. What are the cards? Memory card slot to UHS-2. CF Express Type B. Oh, okay, so it's got dual cards. So it's got UHS-2 and it's got CF Express Type B as well. Video recording up to 800 megabits per second. That's very high. Also, it does ProRes 422. It's got, like I said, the HDMI port. A new battery is also on it, and it can be charged with AC power as well. Pricing, it looks like it's $2,200, which is pretty good. It's also $2,800 bundled with this Leica 12 to 60 millimeter lens. So that is, I'm just laughing at Aaron saying you blonde bombshell. I'm just going to look down here and go to Olympus as well. We'll just have a quick look at this before I open up Q&A. So the OM-1, this is the first camera that they've released under their new OM Digital Solutions brand. So I remember they were sold and someone took them over. So this is the latest camera from that. Let's hope they survive. Let's hope this isn't the last. I'm not sure how much. I had a quick glance at this just before. It doesn't mention much about it, but I just wanted to show the body that you can see through here too. It has a Sony sensor though, I did see somewhere. Where did it mention that? It's saying here, what's brilliant about the Olympus strategic development of its camera is that it remained regularly focused for nearly 20 years since its release of the E1. I'm just trying to see where it said it was Sony sensor. Oh, here, I think. It says, so why aren't we all shooting Micro Four Thirds? Well, it's probably a question Olympus has repeatedly asked itself, particularly in light of Sony's success with its mirrorless modules. One of the problems with the E1 was its uncompetitive continuous shooting speeds. Now, I did read, looking at this article, this is incredible at its shooting speed. And we'll probably look at that a little bit down the line through here. Where did it mention the things about this camera? So they're saying here that they should be applauded for showcasing the new Sony quad pixel AF stack sensor. The resolution gains for AF performance and downstream processing of those 20 megapixel images. So it's a 20 megapixel camera, but if you look at this, it seems to be nuts, which allows it to shoot at 120 frames per second in RAW and blackout free at 50 frames per second. Like, this is seriously good. I'd love to have a try of this camera just to see what it's like. Stabilization has been improved to 8 stops. So you've got 8 stops, and I believe that this will have a true 8 stops. You could walk with this like you could with a GH6. This would be superb if you didn't want to be carrying around other things to give you stabilization. It's also got IP53 weatherproof rating, which means, and the menus have been refreshed as well. It makes photographers of the systems green with envy. How about handheld high-res? So it's got a live ND as well. I'm not sure if it mentions anything else about it. It's just talking about market share. Where are the photos of it? Oh, there it is there, yeah. I mean, it looks lovely. I mean, I've always liked the look of the Panasonic GH5 and also the Olympus cameras. I think they've always been really sort of solid, chunky. I mean, they're not massive, but they just give you that older feeling of holding a digital SLR, and I do like that sort of very retro-y type look that they give. But again, I think that Olympus have done a really good job here by the looks of it. I'm losing my voice. It's something that I'd love to try anyway. I'd love to have a look at the GH6 and also this if ever I could get my hands on it. So let's open up to Q&A. So if you have anything at all that you'd like to fire at me, fire away. Where were we? Oh, that's for selling. Where I was selling my chair. I think I was down to here. I just like that because please don't sell any gimbals. You don't have enough of them. I love it. Roberto says he's going to buy the ZV-1. I'll talk to him soon. It's Christmas at David's. I love it. George said at those prices he wants to move to Australia. At least go there on vacation now that their borders have opened up again. Yeah, we have. It's all open again here. so you can come back over. Is 4 months between product launches really that long? Well, not. I suppose it's a reasonable time if you haven't released anything, though, John, I think. Look, Sony early on did have long breaks between releasing anything, but what they've done now is they started to release things a lot sooner, but obviously that, you know, the chip shortage has made an issue. Melissa, I'll check that once we go offline. Panda said 100 megapixels is overkill, but not overkill to charge your clients. The Sony a7 IV will only be part of the cost. You will also need a new computer with a huge hard drive and incredibly fast processor to edit the images and a new monitor to properly display those images. Yep, I mean, that storage is going to be a problem, Rob, that's for sure. John said at 100 megapixel, the a7R5 is still likely stills focused. Similarly, the rumoured 75 megapixel Canon R5S. Yeah, I think you're right. I do think, though, they'll still probably put a 4K 60 in it, John. I think that's probably going to be... I would think any camera from this stage on will have that now. You've still got the 4K 120 that gives the Sony a7S III that sort of advantage. And you've still got the A1, which you're having 8K, gives that the advantage. So there still is a market difference between those cameras. So, yeah. It's going to be mid-2023. I agree, Panda, for the chip shortage to finish. John said at 100 megapixels for the Sony a7R5 and 75 for the future Canon, I think they'll both be stills focused. Too much data to push into high-end video, in my opinion, without bursting into flames. Dad said maybe instead of buying new cameras, we should all pour our resources and make a chip factory. I'll tell you what, you'd make some money. That's for sure. Recipe 30 said, I'm actually happy that there's a sensor shortage to slow camera progress down a little. That's probably true too. I'm tired of upgrading, just want to focus on my art and not constantly on new gear. There's a great chip shop near me. That's good, Steve. Unfortunately, supply disruptions will probably get considerably worse. It may be with what's going on with Russia, that's for sure. Panda says, I can't get a new chip for my blow-up doll either. Roberto sent it to me, that's fine. John said, uploading containers is the middle problem. Unloading containers is a middle problem. Barges backed up in ports because not enough dock workers, then not enough truck drivers, both due to you-know-what, yeah. Time for people to relearn how to take pictures again rather than simply manipulate the tech on their cameras. Time to get back to the basics. Roberto said, now with the whole Russia thing, bloody hell, things are going to be expensive. Yeah, maybe, actually. Who knows? 95 said, I support brick and mortar first. So do I. I mean, I do too, if I can. Panda said, Tamron better send me and David a few lenses. Rob said, I will research online, including prices, but I will always give the local shop a chance to see what they can do. If they can come close to the online price, I will support my local shop. I do that too, actually. Usually now what they'll do is when you go into the shops, they'll say, look, if you can find a cheaper price somewhere, we'll match it. And then I go online and they'll do that. That's one thing that I do. Richard said Tamron needs to have an AF/MF switch. I know, I agree, that would be great, Richard, if they did have that. I do like using that on my Sony lenses, that's for sure. First of many to come with active cooling, and Sony and Canon is going to copy this. John said the GH6 is really a video beast. DFD is still iffy though. I know, it's a pity. Look, if they had phase detection in those cameras, it pulses 5 times faster, so maybe you won't notice. I bet you still will, John. I bet you still will. Several reviews show it doesn't track focus very well. It's otherwise brilliant. Dynamic range is 13 plus stops. Like I said though, for videographers, they won't care because they still do things manually. I've got very good at doing manual focus, particularly since I've been using gimbals and stuff like that, and I use the focus from those that I use manual all the time when I do wedding videos and stuff like that. Wide lens and speed boost on that pano sensor, yeah. Let's have a look. Oh, they're talking to each other. John said, Panasonic said they've been developing the GH6 before the GH5 came out, and they felt IQ, etc., was bigger customer concern. That's true, though, John. Look, they developed these cameras years ago. It takes a long time for them to get up to spec. You know, I mean, it's incredible how long back they actually are. Like, if you could go into, say, places like Apple and look at what they've got developed for the next 5 years ahead, who knows what, you know, voodoo-y stuff that they've got coming out or developing for that time. But you can never see it. But it would be incredible, actually. Aaron's here as well. Good to see you here, Aaron. Depth from defocus, which is why the camera hunts back and forth. Yeah, I know, it's not good. Matt said the high frame rates with Micro Four Third cameras can be a bit of a trap in my experience, since you need to let in more light to expose properly, and you can only let in so much. I love Aaron's comment there. Nice to see you, blonde bombshell. What else? Olympus rocks. John said, the OM-1 looks crazy for stills. Both bodies have crazy IBIS. B&H confirmed that the OM-1's LCD cannot navigate the menu like the old Sony. Oh, that's interesting. OM-1 looks really nice. Aaron said, I love my Panasonic G9. James said, could Sony match the GH6 specs in full frame at a realistic cost? Well, they probably could, but I'm not sure about realistic cost, James. The sensors would be, you know, a lot more expensive. So you're definitely going to pay for it, that's for sure. So I'm not sure that they could. You would pay for having all of those sort of features in it, that's for sure. And see, you've got to also remember too that the stabilisation is a lot easier in Micro Four Thirds because that sensor is so much smaller. It's a lot easier to move around inside the camera. So I'm not sure that with Sony or the others they could do that. I still think that with full frame, I don't think stabilisation is going to be hardware for much longer. I think it's going to be totally software soon. You know, once the technology, the processors get up to being able to do it, it's going to do an in-camera crop, and then you're not going to notice it anymore. It'll have much more of a wider area that it can take from, and then it'll stabilise that sensor in camera. So I think that's, I mean, it's active stabilisation now is available, but it's just going to get more and more better. I think the less things that are moving in the camera, the better it will be. That's why I love using electronic, you know, shutter. If you also had that without IBIS sort of having to do things as well, I think it will be fantastic. And I do think that's the future that the cameras are going to go to. I think there'll be digital stabilisation sort of built in. Aaron said, I walk into B&H in New York City. Does that count for shopping local? Yes, it does, Aaron. It's all in America for you, isn't it? So it does. John said, I noticed in the OM-1 launch video that the guy was using the nav buttons to go through the menu. Oh, so you can't touch the screen, John. Well, that's a bit of a bummer. I don't know why they would have done that. That seems like it's a very silly thing to do. I always find the GH5 was way ahead of its time with how the menus worked. The touchscreen was always brilliant in that, so I'm sure the GH6 is going to be even better. The screen on it, when I went to Sony, I did really miss that back screen and the touch interface that the GH5 had. It was brilliant, actually, on the GH5. It's something that Sony could learn from. They have improved the menu system in the newer cameras, but it still doesn't get it's still nowhere near what companies like Canon and Panasonic and Nikon are doing with their menu systems. It's certainly an area that could be improved, that's for sure. I'll wait for a couple more questions, and then that'll be it for the day, because I'm going to go and have some lunch. Now, if you have any questions, guys, too, leave them down below. I'd love it, too, if you could give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate that. It does make a difference to the channel being unsponsored. So if you can give me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate that. If anyone is interested in some of that gear that I've got for sale, like I said, I had heaps of stuff for sale in there. Contact me, and I'll try and put a list together too and add things. It's just going to take me a while to go through it all, but I'll try and put a list together, and then you can have a look if anything interests you. Apart from that, it looks like everyone has finished questions. So that'll be all. We've done just about an hour, so it's perfect. I like it sort of sitting at an hour. So thanks so much, everyone. Let me just go back to here. Let me open up this, and I'm going to play this in a second. And we'll see you all next week. I'll have a couple of videos up during the week, hopefully. I'm going to start trying to come back more online, but I'll also be here live next week as well. I don't think I've got I may have a wedding next week. I'll have to check. If I've got a wedding next week on the Saturday, I will do the live on the Sunday. So I'll let you know. I'll do it Friday or Sunday, but I'll let you know about that. All right, guys. See you in the next video.
If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide.